Habs After Dark with Recliner Sports.
3, 2, 1, 0.
Good evening, gang. How are you tonight? Welcome to the show. My name is Devin. This is Habs After Dark, and we're here to talk about our Montreal Canadiens and a big 4-1 win over the rivals from Boston. Pretty fun game to watch. Alors, bienvenue tout le monde à l'émission Bleu, Blanc, Rouge, Nuit. Je m'appelle Devin. On va parler ce soir à propos de notre équipe favorite, le Canadien de Montréal, et leur victoire ce soir contre les Bruins de Boston. Good game tonight, guys. Lots to talk about. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Again, I'm not here really to talk to you guys. I kind of want to talk more with you guys and have a conversation, as opposed to me doing all the talking. So I don't know if how we get past that, but certainly all of your comments and questions are welcome. I love to hear them. So fire away. Don't hesitate. Please let me know if you have questions. We're live right now on YT. We're live on Twitch, and we're also live on TikTok. If you're over on TikTok, unfortunately, I don't have the ability to show you the graphics and whatever over there. But if you want to join us over here, you can certainly see them, and you can certainly ask questions on TikTok, and I'll respond. I get a question there from LVPLVNTE Laplante, maybe with V's instead of A's. How confident are we about the back-to-back this weekend? I think we're relatively confident. I think we're this win tonight, especially. I don't know if do we have a final yet? So the Avalanche are leading the Blue Jackets. So that gives a little bit of space there. As Entertap says here very astutely, one less game to worry about in the driver's seat. So I think in that sense, I think the Canadiens can be relatively confident about this weekend, that they don't, it's not the end of the world. But obviously I think they're playing good hockey. Tonight to me was a scenario where they played a game where they, I don't think they had to win, but it was a game that they should have won, right? It was against a team that clearly was not as good as them, and they, have in the past shown that they have the ability to lose those games. Last week against Philadelphia is a prime example, but tonight they certainly showed up and they took care of their business. Right, they took care of their business, and they basically stepped on the Boston Bruins from the very beginning of the game. I think there was a bit of a lull maybe at the very beginning of the third period, but other than that, they were pretty solid all the way through. If you're not following us yet, guys, if you're not subscribed, you can do so. There's a button right here below the screen where you can subscribe. If you're watching live, if you're watching in a replay, please do so. Our goal is to get to 500 subscribers. We're getting there slowly but surely, and we welcome more people to join. The more people who join, the more conversation we can have, the better conversation we can have. The idea here, the goal here is to have a place where we can all talk about the Montreal Canadiens, and we can do that in an environment where we don't have to worry about some of the craziness that comes along with a lot of the other social media platforms. We can just have our fun, intelligent, civil in conversations about the Canadiens here, and if you're into that kind of thing, then this is the place for you, and we certainly invite you to join us. I think they have to play the same game against Philly and Nashville, and they'll be all right. I agree. Yeah, I mean they have to go in and they have to just take care of business, right? You can't let your foot off the pedal. You're playing against a team that you should by rights beat. Teams that are out of the playoff race, they're out of the playoff run. That presumably they're not going to show up with again they're professional athletes, and they're going to show up with some level of compete, but they're also not really in it anymore, and you might expect that they're not going to have the same pushback that they might if they were in a playoff race. So the Canadiens can't let up. they have to understand that they're playing important games and that every game counts at this point. And, they got to win those 2 games. Big W says Slav 20, absolutely. Welcome, Nicholas. And James, welcome to the show, guys. I appreciate you being here. Entertap, A-Team, Suzuki, Gallagher, Caulfield, and Slavkovsky. No. Close, but no. I think you got 3 of 4. Welcome to the show, guys. Yeah, so give us a thumbs up. What did you guys think of the game? Again, I'm not here to try and, I don't want to just talk at you guys. I'd like to talk with you guys. So if you have thoughts on the game, let me know. We will get to the A-Team Entertap. Good move for Fowler being signed to ATO with Laval. I think it was really the only option. I'm not sure, again, the rumor and the speculation is that there was some disagreement about whether or not he should sign an ELC this year, which of course would remove his ability to go and play in Laval for the rest of this season, or whether he should, go to Laval and finish the season there. And I think, obviously for his development and in the best interest of the team and the player, I think the best move is for him to go to Laval. And I would think that there would be little disagreement about that. I would have thought there'd be, there wouldn't be a ton of disagreement about that, but, I don't know. And we'll probably never know what took so long. Maybe, again, maybe the only reason it took so long for him to sign was that, he wanted to go and watch Gabe Perreault and Ryan Leonard make their debuts. And, Laval is out in the western part of the country right now, so there was no rush really to get the deal done. So it'll be fun to see how he does the rest of the year. Last question. We all agree that Hudson is locked for Calder at this point. I mean, for me, he's locked as the best rookie in the NHL at this point. Whether he wins the award, I don't know. It can be very unpredictable when you have the media voting on things like this. I mean, it's pretty clear to me that he's having the best season of all the rookies in the league. Better than Celebrini, better than Michkov, better than Wolf. I don't think it's even particularly close, if I'm being honest. But again, the media votes on this, and, a lot of the media come out of Toronto. So again, we'll see. I mean, at the end of the day, I think we can all agree that he's the best rookie. But, the media does, the voters sometimes make weird decisions. Tristan, A-Team, Suzuki, Gallagher, Caulfield, Slav, also 3 for 4. I think you have the same picks as Entertap, Tristan. Newhook really picked up his speed, reminds me of Byron. He's always had the speed, Rob. He's always had the speed. I think he's just learning how to use it better. He's learning how to use it defensively in his defensive game. He's learning how to use it to I think he's learning some lessons from watching Caulfield, from watching Lane Hudson, to be quite honest with you. Using your speed when you don't have the size and the strength to take on some of the players that you're going up against, and taking advantage of the fact that you might not be as big as those guys, but you certainly are faster and quicker than they are. And it's been fun to watch, right? And his offensive game has come around here over the last month and a half or so. He's a little bit snake bitten right now. I think he probably could have a few more goals, but he's been pretty unlucky, and hasn't really been able to find to open up that get that monkey off his back a little bit. And it'll come, and I think like Laine, people were commenting earlier tonight about Laine not being as productive on 5-on-5 as he is on the power play. And, I think that's probably true, but, some of that also has to do with, sort of I don't want to say disarray, but, the lack of consistency with the second line, and the fact that, Newhook hasn't really had any, sort of consistency with his line mates this year, nor has he had, the quality of line mates that you might want or expect in order to be at your best. Nicholas says, was a solid performance, and the D was back on track tonight. Yeah, I thought they did a really good job in their defensive zone. I thought they did a good job of zone coverage. They did a good job of killing plays. They made good decisions, good reads. and they were good at moving the puck out, right? That quick. I mean, Slavkovsky's, on the Caulfield goal, that was the perfect example, right? You create a turnover in the offensive zone, and boom, right? You get it up into the neutral zone right away to Suzuki, and Suzuki goes in and sets up Cole Caulfield. So it was a great game, absolutely, Tristan. What are my thoughts on the Anthony Duclair situation with Roy in New York? So I don't know the full story, Intertap. Maybe you can fill me in a little bit. I did see that Roy put out a statement today that he and Duclair spoke, and that Duclair decided that he was going to take some time off. But beyond that, I don't know. Like, what's the genesis of it? Like, what's the basis for their conversation in the first place, right? Why is he not playing well? Is he not getting much ice time? Is there a conflict between him and the coach? I don't know. I don't know the situation. Thanks for the thumbs down, guys. Keep them coming. Dvorak is looking better. We can really use the depth scoring. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm any offensive contribution that a guy like Dvorak makes is kind of bonus a little bit. But that, when you're getting, scoring from your third and fourth line, I mean, they're not getting as much scoring from those guys as they were earlier in the year. But, it was nice tonight to see the so-called third line or four. I mean, it depends on who you consider to be the third and the fourth line. It was nice to see them, contribute offensively tonight. I thought the Bruins played sloppy and had a lot of turnovers in the first, but we couldn't take advantage of it. Yeah, I mean, the Bruins are not a very good team right now, right? They're depleted. They're not very strong. Pasternak is probably the only player that you would say is an above average NHL player on that team. They don't have much. I mean, earlier in the season they had a little bit more, and if you'll remember going back earlier in the season, the depth guys on that team really gave Montreal a hard time. The Kepke, I'm trying to think of the other guy that went over there from Ottawa. I don't even know where he is now. He didn't play tonight, I don't think. I can't think of his name right now, but he's a former Ottawa Senator. He was kind of, all over the place against the Canadiens in a couple of the games earlier in the year. So Suzuki, Caulfield, Gallagher, Dvorak, you have 2 of 4. 2 of 4. 2 of 4 correct. Habs are now 17-6-0 against Atlantic team, 4th best in the NHL. Yeah, I mean they have done a really good job this year of stepping up to big moments, right? Playing their best hockey against some of their best opponents, right? They've got they swept Florida. They've had good games against Colorado. They've had good games against. They beat Las Vegas. I don't know I think they're 1-1 against Las Vegas. They've beaten the Oilers twice, I believe, maybe just once. They shut out the Oilers. I know one time it was a 3-0 win. So the Canadiens, I think, this year have demonstrated that they're a good team and that they're capable of good things. But again, I sound like a broken record, but it comes down to their ability to consistently apply that same level of performance on a night in and night out basis. And you'll see them go out and beat a team like Florida or Colorado, and then they'll lose to a team like Philadelphia or Pittsburgh or what have you. So. Yeah, I mean, when the games count, they seem to be, which is why I think it's exciting to see. It will be exciting to see how they can step up if they are able to make their way into the playoffs. In the previous game, Roy told reporters that Duclair was god-awful in the New York Islanders' loss to Tampa Bay. Next day before practice, Duclair informed Roy that he would step away from the game, hints of torts. Bad coaching, man. Bad coaching. If that's the case, Duclair 9th team in 11 season, Islanders first team committing in long term to him due to Patrick Roy being his former coach in the Quebec League. Yeah, I suspect that Duclair is a guy who, depending on what kind of terminology you want to use, he's probably a guy that probably needs to be handled with Kid gloves a little bit. He's probably not a guy who you can scream and yell at, doesn't deal with that very well. But at the end of the day, there's no coach in the league that should be going in front of the media and talking that way about their players. It just doesn't make sense. Patrick Roy is a very emotional guy. I think it's one of his strengths, but it's also one of his weaknesses. I don't know if you guys will recall this, but I've heard Marty St. Louis say it more than once, but he definitely said it during the Crave TV show, the reality show or whatever you want to call it, where he talked about the fact that he doesn't often like to talk to the players in any great detail after the games, and he doesn't like to talk about the players to the media immediately after the game, because he doesn't want to say anything in an emotional state that might not be the right thing to say, right? So if he wants to talk to the players about things, he'll typically wait until the next day when he's had some time to sleep on it and think about it and sort of get over the emotion, positive or negative. I guess positive doesn't really matter, but certainly negative emotions that might come with a game. And so, to me, that's, again, we've heard Kent Hughes describe, Marty St. Louis' emotional intelligence. That's emotional intelligence, right? Patrick Roy has to be smart enough to know that if he goes in front of the media and talks about, his players in those terms, that there's a good possibility that it's not going to have a positive impact, right? If your goal is to get the most out of your players and to have them contribute to your team's success, doing something like that is not, I don't see what possible, positive benefit it serves. Or like what could you possibly get out of in a positive way out of standing in front of the media and talking about your players in that way? I don't understand it. Suzuki, first player to hit 80 points since 2007. Has it been that long? Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. He's having a great year. What's up, C Guy Builds? Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're over on TikTok, guys, you can certainly join us on YT. You can ask your questions over on TikTok, but if you want to come over and get the full experience of the show, you'll have to join us on YT, where you can see the graphics and the video and all that other stuff. Go Habs go. Yes, absolutely, C Guy Builds. I was live earlier. Streamed the game. Was awesome. Oh, nice. Good for you, C Guy. I was here live during the game on TikTok as well. I don't do a ton of content on TikTok other than just sort of sit here and watch the games on live, and then I go on the air after the games on YT. So we're over on YT right now. If anybody wants to join us over here, feel free. The channel is Recliner Sports 4. Just open up your YT app and pop on over, and you can subscribe. You can join. You can get in the comment section and ask your questions over here, and you'll certainly get the opportunity to watch the show and the graphics. What's up, RDP? Looks like Coach must have ended his show. Everyone's popping over here now. Randy says, many have never thought of Patrick Roy as a positive coach in the NHL. Patrick has done this in the minor level as well as in Colorado. He ruined his welcome in Colorado with Sakic. I've seen Patrick Roy coach quite a bit. I had season tickets to the Halifax Mooseheads for a number of years, including when he coached in Quebec and when he coached Anthony Duclair. I think there are a lot of positives about Patrick Roy as a coach, but I also think he's a guy who has a hard time controlling his emotions. And in order for him to be really successful as a coach, I think he's going to have to do a better job of that. And that's sort of what catches up to him eventually, right? Like, you have to understand that as a coach, you're not always going to be successful. You're going to have bad games, and you're going to have bad players, and you're going to have guys who have bad nights. And if you start going in front of the media and publicly declaring your players are god awful, or in John Tortorella's case, stupid, or like you can't do that. Again, like your job as a coach is to make your players better and to try and get the most out of them. And again, I struggle to see in what possible way you could achieve that by calling out your players to the media. To me, if you're calling out your players in front of the media, you're doing one thing. You're covering your own ass. Right? You're being selfish. You're putting yourself ahead of the players. You're willing to throw your players under the bus in order to, take the focus off you, right? What purpose could you possibly have for blaming somebody else? Even if it is their fault, right? Like, again, like it makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me. Peter says, "Go Habs, go!" What do you think about Jack Eye sitting out again? I don't love it, Peter. I don't love it. I think he would have been helpful on the ice tonight. I think he contributes at least as much as Jaden Struble does, although Jaden Struble's playing very well. It's not a shot on him or against him at all. If it wasn't for the righty-lefty dynamic, I think that Jack Eye would certainly be well ahead of David Savard as far as, a spot on the team. But again, it's hard to suggest that the team should play with 5 left-handed defensemen and 1 right-handed. Lane Hudson appears to be the only left-handed defenseman who can play on the right side and be just as good, if not better. So we'll see. If Roy knows Duclair and how he reacts, then why on earth calling him out in front of the press? Very odd. It is odd. It is odd, Nicholas. I don't know. Will I ever do play-by-play like Coach on YT? Probably not, Tristan, for a couple reasons. One, I don't want to step on Coach's toes. Not that I'm any type of competition for him at this stage with the following that he has. But I just think it would be a bit of a dick move for me to, essentially provide the exact same content that he does. Second of all, I just don't know that I'd be any good at it. I'm not really into doing the play-by-play. I like to sort of talk more conceptually about the game than just sort of, watch the game and regurgitate what's happening on the ice. I'm not sure that that's what I'd be any good at. I mean, I think I could probably you probably would get my followers up pretty quickly if I did that. Just because you're on the air for so long and you get so many people that roll through. But again, I don't think that's my thing. Right now I go live on on TikTok while the game is on, and I talk to people. I don't get a ton of people on the show or on TikTok during the game because I'm not really paying attention to it the way I need to. But we have little chats on TikTok. Am I based in Montreal? I'm not, Randy. I'm not. I used to live in Montreal, but now I live on the East Coast. I live on the East Coast. I agree that there's nothing constructive to throw a player under the bus in front of the media, but sometimes journalists are pressing on the right. Absolutely, PLW. But Patrick Waugh has to know that. I mean, Patrick Waugh's been around long enough to know, and he's had the media press his buttons before, and he's fallen for the trap before. So he needs to know better. I don't know the nature of his comments. I don't know how they came to be. I don't know whether he was asked a question or whether he offered those comments, without much prompting. I have no idea. But again, Patrick Waugh should know better. Peter, love the channel. Who do you think is the right guy for the last spot on the team come playoffs? Jack Eye, Kapanen, Pizzetta. What do you mean by the last spot? You mean the last forward? I think you're probably going to see Kapanen get the chance to take that 12th forward position. I think Pizzetta probably comes out of the lineup. Kapanen gets an opportunity. I don't know what the future holds for Jack Eye as far as the rest of this year. Claire Rose, allez Montréal. Bienvenue Claire. Je pense que tu es nouveau ici. Alors bienvenue. It's good to see you. Thank you for coming. I don't know what'll happen on the defense. Sensationalism, not real reporters. Yeah, I mean I was going to say that the reporters in New York are probably not probably, again, New York people, probably not here, but, not the most knowledgeable. But again, I hesitate to say that because we see what the Montreal media is capable of here, right? We see some of the questions that get asked of the players in the dressing room, and we certainly see some of the reporting that goes on, here in Montreal with, I'm in Nova Scotia, Richard. Richard, à Nouvelle-Écosse. Go Habs, go. Yes, Claudio. Yeah, so again, BPM Sports, terrible. RDS, largely terrible. The Montreal Gazette, very terrible. Like Stu Cowan, Herb Zurkowski, like some of the questions that those guys ask, if you watch the media scrums, it's so bad. Some coaches can be short fuse. Marty St. Louis is doing a great job during their pressers. Yeah. Again, emotional intelligence, right? When I can't remember when the interview was or which interview it was, but Kent Hughes was asked about what they were looking for when they hired Marty St. Louis and why did they pick him, right? Obviously, it appeared to be a bit of a decision out of left field, picking a guy who'd never coached before at any type of level. He was coaching his kids, minor hockey, and one of the things he talked about was emotional intelligence. And I think it shows a tremendous level of foresight on his part and on the Canadiens' part to think about that, because that's not something that has typically been a consideration when it comes to hiring coaches in hockey, right? It's been a sport where, it's a suck it up kind of sport, right? If you're not tough enough to handle the screaming and yelling, then you're not tough enough to play hockey. Well, the Canadiens have been smart enough to go beyond that and to go another way. Oui, c'est certain, il fait beau ici, Richard. Merci beaucoup. Bonne soirée aussi. Tu peux nous joindre ici à YT si vous voulez, Richard. On fait une émission à chaque soir. Ça s'appelle Bleu, Blanc, Rouge Nuit. C'est une émission après chaque match des Canadiens. Alors, si vous voulez joindre à notre canal de YT, ça s'appelle Recliner Sports 4. Recliner Sports 4. Dylan Cochran, what's up? What else we got here? What's up, Larry? Welcome to the show, as always. It's a pleasure to see you. Give us some thumbs up, guys. If you're watching and you're enjoying the show, please hit that thumbs up button. If you're not subscribed yet, you can do that as well, just down below here. The only reason Pacetta is in is because Jack-Eye is out. If Jack-Eye would step in for an injured D, I'm pretty sure Roy would be in place of Pacetta. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I guess what you're implying there is that Pacetta is there to be a bit of an enforcer role. Maybe. I don't know that Pacetta really accomplishes that. I don't know that he brings that in any level more than, Josh Anderson does. I don't know. We'll see. Jack-Eye posts a video on Insta of all the comments asking about him. Is this a sign of anger? I don't know. I didn't see it. He doesn't strike me as that kind of guy, to respond that way. I don't know. I don't know what the rationale would be. I'll have to go have a look at it. I didn't see it. This is the first time hearing about it. Didn't Gooley play on the right earlier in the season? He did, Tristan. He did. And he played substantially better when he moved over. What's up, Nikki? He played substantially better when he moved back onto the left-hand side. That was sort of one of the big revelations, or one of the big impacts of the Alexandre Carrier trade. When they bought Carrier in, he was a right-handed defenseman, and it allowed Gooley to move over to the left side, and Gooley played quite a bit better. Compliment coach, that way can tap into the same crowd. Content-wise. What do you mean compliment coach? Are you saying compliment with an I or compliment with an E? Are you talking about me doing play-by-play and that content would complement the content that Coach does, or are you saying that I should say nice things about Coach? I think I meant content. Okay, I think I know what you mean. I don't think it would be. I don't think it would be a nice thing um, to do the exact same thing that Coach is doing. I'm trying to keep things a little bit different. Even doing the Habs Therapy Day show on Wednesdays. I try to make sure I get finished before Coach typically goes on the air on Wednesdays. Again, not that I'm taking any people away from him. I think his following is not really at risk from me, but I just don't think he's been good to me. He's given me an opportunity to be on his show, and I just don't think it would be a nice thing to do. Patrick picks on a fourth liner instead of his top lines or defense. Strange. Again, I didn't watch the game, and I haven't watched the Islanders play in any great degree this year, so I don't know whether Duclair is struggling or not. I know he's a really good hockey player. He has a lot of talent, but again, I don't know. But again, I don't believe that it's ever warranted for you to stand up in front of journalists and talk that way about your coaches. What's up, Jackson? I am also on Twitch, and I'm also on YT, Jackson. User 168. Yes, go Leafs, go. If you want to join us on YT, Jackson, open up your YT. The channel is called Recliner Sports 4, and you can come in and be part of the show. I think Montreal will need 5 more wins to secure a wild card. It's a lot of wins, Antoine. You think they need to go 5-2? I don't know that they need to go 5-2. I mean, I think if they go 5-2, they're pretty much guaranteed a spot. I don't know that they need to go 5-2, but we'll see. They just need to win as many games as they need to win. Just keep on winning. Patrick Roy was a great goalie. Should have left it there. Like, I know anything about hockey, just love the sport. I think they're, having observed Patrick Roy as a coach, I think I've seen signs of him being a very good coach. Obviously, he had some success with the Quebec Remparts. He's won Memorial Cup, 1 or 2 Memorial Cups with them, 1 at least. I think he gets, it's funny. I think he's one of those guys who might be better at coaching younger kids than he is at coaching the pros. But I think he needs to learn to control his emotions a little bit better if he wants to be a successful coach. And like you said, this is not the first time, it's not the second time, and it's probably not the third time. And if he hasn't figured it out yet, he probably isn't going to figure it out. Marty St. Louis is holding a press conference right now. Yes, he does a press conference after every game, Antoine. It's on the TV right here to my side. It's just ended, so I typically don't watch the players' interviews and press conference after the game. I usually wait till the next day because I'm usually on here talking to you guys. With Savard being a UFA, hope the Habs make a spot for Jack-Eye. Every team needs their offensive D, defensive D, and robust D. I agree, Randy, and I think the Canadiens do view Arbor Jack-Eye in a positive light. I think they do view him having a future with the team, and I do think that they have plans for him down the road. I think he does fill a role on the team that no other defenseman fills. I think that down the road and in the future, I think he can fill a similar role that David Savard, plays right now. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Obviously, the numbers, there's a lot of numbers when it comes to defensemen for Montreal, and there's a lot of left-handed defensemen, and Arbor Jack-Eye is a left-handed defenseman. So we'll see how it goes. MSL becoming more of a good bench coach? Yeah, that's experience. He's been around a little bit longer. That's what I would expect, right? I would expect him to get better at that. I think it was probably one of the areas that he struggled with a little bit at the beginning of the season, and I think he relied on his assistants a little bit as far as that was concerned. But I think he's definitely improving that way. Kind of thinking Habs could win against the Flyers on Saturday night at home. Well, they should, right? They're a better team. They're a better team than the Flyers, and they lost to them last week, so that's kind of a hard thing to say, but they should beat the Flyers. They should beat the Flyers. I don't think I'm going to be doing a show on Saturday night, by the way, guys. I have tickets with a bunch of people to go see the Halifax Thunderbirds, which is the local lacrosse team. So I probably will be at that game, believe it or not. Probably will have the Canadiens game going on my phone, but I may not be doing a show. Entertap, any concerns with Reinbacher's knee? Now he's missed fifth consecutive game, and management is very quiet. Yes, I am concerned. I am concerned. I don't know what level of concern that is because I don't have any idea what's going on. But I think you have to be concerned to a certain degree. I don't know. It seems odd to me. Like if he suffered a setback in his injury, then why not just give him the rest of the year off, and then he has the entire offseason to rehab and make it better. And he's getting into games, and then he's sitting out games, and I'm not sure. It's a strange situation, and I'm not sure what it's all about. Hopefully it's a load management type thing, but we'll see. We'll see. PLW, Pezzetta did good tonight. Yeah, I thought Pezzetta played all right tonight. I thought he, having the lead, I think gave Marty St. Louis the opportunity to allow him to play a little bit more. Right? He didn't have to, worry about. I mean, he only played 7:46. I guess it looked to me like he played a little bit more than usual. That's one area that I will say that Marty St. Louis probably still does need to work on as far as his bench coaching is concerned. Is balancing out the ice time a little bit better. Bill Castanis, what's up? Is it Castanis or Castanas? It's Greek, I'm sure, but Kalispera or Kalimera. No, Kalispera is for men, right? Kalispera, Bill Castanis, what's up? Makes no sense that Pezzetta is a better option than Joshua Roy. What is the reason for Pezzetta? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the rationale is there. I honestly don't know, Randy. I tend to agree with you. It makes sense for Joshua Roy to be there for a multitude of reasons. Development, all that other stuff. It makes no sense for Joshua Roy to be sitting in the press box, playing no games in Montreal and no games in Laval. So I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. On Galley's goal, Pezzetta did very good on the forecheck. Yeah, absolutely. I thought it would have been nice if he could have gotten an assist there, but the referees didn't want to give it to him. Entertap, that may be Reinbacher's problem. He can't stay healthy, and that happens. I want and like his play. Yeah, again, I always have a hard time with that concept of not being able to stay healthy. I mean, again, it's mostly luck of the draw kind of thing, right? With that kind of stuff. It's all good, Nicholas. I think I understood what you meant. I did understand what you meant. I just wasn't 100% positive. But yeah, I could do that. I just don't feel like it's the best thing for me to do. George Ratch or Geo Ratch, what's up? Huge W. Yes, big win for the Canadiens. What do we got going on in? We got a final. Avalanche 7, Blue Jackets 3. Senators beat the Lightning 2-1. And Penguins and Blues 4-4. Who cares? Stars are beating up the Predators 5-1. The Kings and Utah 1-0 for the Kings. And the Ducks and the Flames. Go Flames. Go Flames. Let's get that draft pick as high as we possibly can. Jackson, welcome. Not sure it's been discussed tonight. Any thoughts on the Fowler signing? I think it's a good signing. Obviously, I'm happy that he's made his decision. I'm excited to see how things progress and how he takes the next step in his career. And obviously, he's done well at every level so far. And this is the next step, right? We talk about prospects, and everybody seems to have great expectations for Josh. Oh my God. Why can't I think of his first name right now? Oh my God. Fowler. Jacob Fowler. God. For everyone's got great expectations for Jacob Fowler, and if he continues to progress the way he has already in his career, then we'll see great things from him. But welcome to the show, by the way, Jackson. I'm glad you made your way over from TikTok. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see him, and I'm excited to see if he can live up to the hype and whatever he's bringing. And there's no reason to think that he can't. But again, not every prospect makes it, and it'll be fun to see how he does. Carey Price's ghost just cracked a beer in Valhalla. I'm gonna chirp every Leafs fan. All right, Alf, have a good time, man. Have a good time. If you're not yet following us, guys, I see we got 15 people watching right now. If you're not following it, hit the subscribe button down below. Give us a thumbs up. Let's see if we can get that thumbs up number. We actually had 50 thumbs up in one of our earlier episodes of this show. We haven't really come even remotely close to that since, but yeah, hit the button, guys, if you're enjoying the show. What are the tiebreakers against the Rangers, Columbus, and the Islanders? I believe it is. I believe it's regulation wins. In which case, the Rangers, I think, have the upper hand on everybody. Somebody will have to check that to make sure that I got that right. Better than my Swedish, Nicholas? Yes, it's also better than my. What do I know how to say in Swedish? Dooming Tulebuk, is that a swear in Swedish? Dooming Tulebuk. I think that's a swear word in Swedish. Somebody taught me that a very long time ago. Ottawa is extracting all the juice from a very, very average team right now. Okay, yeah, maybe. Already listened to the press conference with Marty St. Louis on the other channel. Yeah, I think that Coach plays the audio from it, I think. We have a young team, and you never know. Yeah, I mean, again, you never know, right? When it comes to prospects, I mean, we can sit here and talk about how Ivan Demidov is going to be the next this, that, or the other thing, and that Jacob Fowler is going to be the next, Ken Dryden or Patrick Roy or whatever, but he could be the next Jose Theodore, right? Couple good years and he's gone. Like, who knows? Who knows? Right? It's prospects are prospects for a reason, right? What does the word prospect mean? Right? It means you're sifting through a bunch of things, hoping that you're going to find a piece of gold or you're going to find a diamond in the rough, and that's what prospects are. And in a rebuild, in the first stage of the rebuild for the Canadiens was gathering and amassing prospects. So you're gathering as many prospects as you can, and the hope is that a few of them turn into special players. A few of them turn into Lane Hudson. A few of them turn into Ivan Demidov, hopefully. A few of them turn into Caden Gooley, right? You'll be at the Thunderbirds game too, Jackson. Nice. I have no idea where I'm sitting, but you know what I look like. So if you see me around, feel free to say hi. Pezzetta fits the role more. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a guy to play on the fourth line, I think Pezzetta is a better suited guy than Joshua Ottawa is for that. If you're looking for a guy to be on the second line, I think that Joshua Ottawa is better suited than Pezzetta. But what I think they've found now is they've moved Heineman up because I think they view Heineman to be as good or better than Roy on the second line role, which then opens up a spot on the fourth line. For which Pezzetta is better suited than Joshua Ottawa. So I guess if we put it that way, maybe it makes a little bit of sense. What time does the game start on Saturday between Montreal and Philadelphia? I'm pretty sure it's a 7 p.m. start. Pretty sure it'll be a 7 p.m. start. Set it in there with a checking to apply, some forechecking with Joshua Ottawa really not providing. Again, Joshua Ottawa I don't think is a bottom six type forward. The Blue Jackets lost. I'm trying to rush through here, guys, so I can get to the scoreboard. We haven't even gotten to the scoreboard yet. We're almost 45 minutes into the show. I think Marty St. Louis wants the fourth line to be an identity line with more forecheck, and that is the one thing Pez does better than Roy. Other than that, yeah, I think that's probably right. Michael Pezzetta is more suited to play a fourth line role than Joshua Ottawa is. Yeah, regulation wins, and I think that the Rangers have a major advantage on regulation wins. Larry is looking for Fowler. Watched him for a while and liked the way he plays, or he stays intense on the play. We will see. Yeah, there's a lot to like about Jacob Fowler. A ton, right? There's, he's obviously been very special since going to Boston College. He had a really good year in the USHL before going to Boston College. He's had some success with the U.S. national team program, although he's been kind of behind Trey Augustine a little bit. The Canadiens really liked him. That's why they picked him. Not only his play, but they liked his personality. For those of you who don't know, he was a little bit overweight when they drafted him, and going into Boston College his first year, he dropped a bunch of weight, got in shape. If you ever heard him interviewed, he's very, very. He's got a lot of intelligence. He talks about the art of goaltending in a really smart way. Really technical about rebound control and all these different things, angles, and all this kind of stuff. And in that sense, I think that's kind of a profile, a character profile that I think the Canadiens are looking for, right? They're looking for guys with some personality. I think they're looking for guys who have a lot of hockey IQ. I think they're prioritizing hockey IQ over some of the other, considerations. Lane Hudson, perfect example, right? If you were on the show with Coach and Entertap and I last night, you heard us talking about, the big brains. The big brains of Nick Suzuki and Lane Hudson and Marty St. Louis and guys who really think the game in a different way. St. Louis wins in OT. Wow, great streak. Wouldn't want to play them in the playoffs. No, I would not want to be anywhere near the St. Louis Blues in a playoff series. St. Louis streak looking like either the Hamburglar streak or even a Miracle Cup winning streak. Yeah, I think it's probably somewhere in between, PLW. I don't think they're going to win the cup, but I don't think it's just a fluke either. All right, let's get to the scoreboard, guys. Let's do this real quick. Well, not real quick. Let's just do it. There's your scoreboard, gang. Canadiens 4, Bruins 1, empty net goal. No scoring in the first period. I thought the Canadiens were substantially better than their opponents in the first period. Unfortunately, they weren't able to solve Jeremy Swayman. That was a bit of a problem. Swayman, I thought, played well. The shots in the first period they were pretty close, I guess, 8-7 in favor of actually the Bruins. I didn't realize that. I guess I could have checked that. It was, I thought the Canadiens were the better team in the first period. They certainly had the scoring chances, and they just weren't able to finish. But you certainly had a sense. I had a sense anyway, watching that first period, that they were going to be all right. It wasn't, I wasn't concerned that they had, there was much chance that they were going to lose that game after the first period, despite the fact that they weren't able to score. They came out in the second period very early on a goal. Christian Dvorak, a bit of a scramble in front of the net. 40 seconds into the second period, Dvorak with his 11th of the season, assisted by Gallagher. And then about 14 minutes later or so, Cole Caulfield scored his 35th of the season from Suzuki and Slavkovsky. Don't look now, but Slavkovsky is coming up on 50 points to equal the number of points he had last year. Again, a really nice play. Slavkovsky, killed a play in the defensive zone, created a turnover, got the puck, moved it up right away, got the puck up to Suzuki in transition. Suzuki and Caulfield went in on a 2-on-1. Suzuki showed a ton of patience, held on to the puck, moved the puck over really, really, nicely, sucked the defender over and then threw the puck over to Caulfield. And Caulfield basically had an empty net to bury it in. I want to talk about that goal real quickly because there was a guy on TikTok tonight that was talking about primary assists versus secondary assists. And it drives me crazy when people talk about that because I don't think there's any real distinction between the two. There's no reason to distinguish between a primary and a secondary assist, especially if your goal is to suggest that one is worth more than the other. It's not, right? Sometimes the primary assist, contributes in a greater way to the goal than the secondary assist, and sometimes it's the other way around, right? And so the reason I want to talk about it now is because that goal is a perfect example, right? You could argue that Slavkovsky contributed to that goal in more of a way than either Suzuki or Caulfield, right? Caulfield probably did the least amount of work on that goal. Slavkovsky created, a turnover in the defensive zone, made the pass that started up off the play. He was able to recognize the opportunity, and he was able to make the pass really, really quickly. And so again, people who would suggest that Slavkovsky's contribution to that goal was somehow of less value than Suzuki's because he had the secondary assist versus the primary assist. It's just a prime example of why that argument makes no sense. And typically people who are making that argument are making the argument because they don't really have a good argument for their point. And the point that was trying to be made by this character was that Lane Hutson is a secondary assist merchant, and that somehow his accomplishments this year are diminished by the fact that a number of his assists are secondary assists, which, when you've got close to 60 assists, you're going to have a number of secondary assists. It's the same as the people who talk about Patrick Laine and they, diminish his accomplishments because, he gets, a lot of his points on the power play. Again, all of this counts, right? So why you would distinguish between a primary and a secondary assist or a power play goal and a 5-on-5 goal is beyond me. But I thought I would bring it up here because I thought that goal was a perfect example of a situation where the secondary assist was huge. The secondary assist on that goal was huge. So the Canadiens 2-0 lead after 2. They head into the third period. Brendan Gallagher. Again, there's a bit of a lull. If the Canadiens struggled at any point during this game, it was in the first few minutes of the third period. I know that Pierre Hood did everything he possibly could in his commentary on RDS to try and jinx the Canadiens. He talked about a 2-goal lead being the worst lead in hockey, and that the Canadiens, the Bruins were going to bring it, and the Canadiens, blah, 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 blah. Again, he bends over backwards to. I get, that you want to not appear to be biased in favor of the Montreal Canadiens, but at the same time, I think that Pierre Houd does an awful lot to bend over backwards to not. I mean, if you were watching the game in the first period, he essentially complimented Nikita Zadorov for slew footing. Who was it? Was it Lane Hutson or Caden? He basically slew-footed the Canadiens defenseman behind the net. Swiped his leg and threw him backwards. And to Pierre Houd, that was a great play, right? Showed a lot of toughness, like big physical, tough defenseman. I don't know. Pierre Houd drives me crazy sometimes. So if the Canadiens did struggle at any point during this game, it was early in that third period. But again, Brendan Gallagher at the 3-minute mark scores a goal, and he kind of puts any thought that the Bruins were going to come back. He put that to rest, and he that was kind of the nail in the coffin. Obviously, the game wasn't over at that point, but it was pretty clear at that point that the Canadiens were in control of the game. Then we had the Bruins finally get on the scoreboard on a goal from Lindholm. Assisted by Pasternak and Geekie. You could argue that there was some goalie interference there. It probably could have gone either way. I thought that Marty St. Louis was smart not to challenge it because, if you do challenge it and they count it and then they get a power play, then all of a sudden, potentially you're in trouble. So, he accepted the goal and moved on from it. And then you had the Nick Suzuki goal into the empty net from Evans and Armia. Nice play. They basically set Suzuki up for an empty net, a literal empty net, and he was finished it quite easily. Nick Suzuki 14 says, "Did anyone see my sick toe drag pass to my wingman Cole Caulfield?" We did all see it, Nick. We did all see it. Yes. Very true, and it's about actually watching the game rather than stats, in my opinion. Yeah, I think it's about both, Nicholas. I mean, I think that the eye test is fallible. Obviously, we've all been watching hockey for a long time, and we can see when players are playing well and when they're not playing well. But at the same time, I think most of us probably think we know more about hockey than we actually do, as far as that eye test is concerned. And sometimes the the stats can give us a little bit of a hint about what really happened or what's going on the ice. So I think there's value in both, right? I don't think you should put too much reliance on statistics, but I think they can be helpful. Secondary assist is often the one that makes the defensive box move, get one or two players to lose their assignment, and open the whole ice. Which absolutely, it's a dumb argument, and people who make it are typically looking to make an argument where they don't really have one. But you're right; it is one of Hudson's strengths, right? He's one of his strengths is using his shiftiness and his speed to create space. Creating that space then allows his teammates to get into space, and it allows him to find them. But you're right; it's also he's very, very good at making the goaltender move, and he's very good at creating angles and changing angles, and the suggestion that somehow is easy or not as valuable as whatever, taking a slap shot from the point and having it bounce in off a guy's leg, is just kind of silly to me. Give me Danny Gallivan anytime. Yeah, Danny Gallivan was pretty good. Dick Irvin was pretty good too. Dick Irvin was the voice that I grew up to. I used to listen to a lot of games on the radio when I was a kid. So Dick Irvin was always the one for me. Heinemann a eu de belles chances. Je trouve qu'il a eu un bon match. C'est vrai, Yannick. Moi aussi, je pense que Heinemann a bien joué. C'est peut-être son meilleur match depuis son retour après la blessure à Utah. Quand il était frappé par une auto. Je pense qu'il a bien joué. Il a touché le poteau. Il était physique ce soir. Il n'a pas peur, lui. Il n'a pas peur. Il était physique avec des joueurs comme Zadorov, des joueurs qui sont plus gros que lui. Moi, j'aime bien le jeu de Heinemann. Je pense que ce n'est pas un joueur de deuxième ligne. C'est un joueur c'est un bottom three, c'est un joueur de troisième ou quatrième ligne. Il va être à son meilleur quand il joue sur le quatrième trio. Mais pour maintenant, c'est un remplacement adéquat. C'est un mot en français, adéquat? Je pense que c'est un mot. C'est assez bon comme remplacement sur la quatrième ligne pour moi, et sur la deuxième ligne pour maintenant. Alors, c'est vrai, je pense qu'il a très bien joué ce soir. J'aime son hargne. C'est un nouveau mot pour moi, hargne. Is that like his spunk? His grit? Tristan, very true, Nick. Tell that to the media. The Selke Trophy is basically given to a player with 60 points and a competent defensive game. Yes, you've been listening to me, Tristan. You've heard me say that before, haven't you? Yeah, the Selke Award is just... it's not so much that it goes to a guy who gets 60 points. It's the award is supposed to go to the best defenseman in the NHL. It's not supposed to go to the best two-way defenseman in the NHL. It's not supposed to go to the guy who's responsible defensively, but also is a top 5 defenseman scorer in the league. Historically, defensive forward, not defenseman. Historically, it went to guys like Guy Carbonneau and Bob Gainey and players like that. And there was last 20 years or so, it's been a little bit different. Son énergie, oui, ça grit. Oui, c'est ça, Yannick. J'ai appris un nouveau mot ce soir. Hargne. Strong, solid, and reliable, not a risky player. Oui, c'est vrai. C'est un bon joueur. C'est un joueur que Martin Saint-Louis aime bien. C'est un joueur qui donne pas les chances à l'autre équipe. Il rend la situation plus difficile pour l'autre équipe au lieu de rendre la situation plus facile. Il ne donne pas des faveurs à l'autre équipe. Alors, c'est un joueur que Martin Saint-Louis... Si vous écoutez Martin Saint-Louis, on sait que c'est cette sorte de joueur qu'il aime bien. Un joueur qui peut prendre des risques, mais prend les bonnes décisions. Il prend les risques à le bon temps, mais prends pas le risque quand c'est pas le bon temps de prendre ce risque. Do you guys think you guys could pass the Senators? I don't think the Canadiens, I mean, they can pass the Senators. I don't think it's very likely. There's not a lot of games left. The Senators don't appear to be, excuse me, the Senators don't appear to be in the mood to give it away. They're still playing good hockey and they're winning. So I don't think that's super likely. New York Rangers off till Saturday, early game at New Jersey. Looking at their schedule, it's not easy. Tampa Bay twice, Florida, Carolina. I'm liking the Habs out. Yeah, I think the schedule certainly does favor the Canadiens. The Canadiens also play most of their remaining games at home. Morgan, they've played some tough games of late. The two games against Florida in particular, and those two wins are huge, right? So now they don't really have, I think they have a game against Ottawa and they have a game against Toronto left, but otherwise it's against teams that I think are out of the playoffs. So yeah, the schedule certainly does look good for the Canadiens the rest of the way. J'aime que tu parles aussi en français, c'est cool. Merci Yannick. On essaie de vous donner une émission bilingue ici. Alors si vous voulez nous joindre à YT, vous pouvez nous joindre à YT. Le réseau de YT, ça s'appelle Recliner Sports 4, Recliner Sports 4. Alors, moi, j'essaie de vous donner une émission bilingue, une place où on peut parler à propos intelligemment, civilement, au sujet des Canadiens de Montréal. Alors, j'aimerais bien que tu viennes ici, être partie de la famille, joindre notre groupe. Mais si tu peux pas, c'est correct quand même. Who would we play? Who would the Canadiens play? Right now, if the playoffs started now, oui, sur YouTube, YT. J'aime pas dire YouTube parce que TikTok n'aime pas quand il entend le mot YouTube. Alors je dis YT parce que quand TikTok entend ce mot, il va enlever les personnes de l'émission. Ils vont m'enlever de l'algorithme, c'est un mot en français, je sais pas. Alors, si vous voulez nous joindre, c'est à YT, le canal, le réseau, ça s'appelle Recliner Sports 4. Slav is recently showing that he is a special breed of player that you can't find often. Absolutely. Again, the consistency is often the last thing that you'll see from a young hockey player or a young hockey team, right? The consistency is the last thing to come. You see flashes of brilliance, you see what they're capable of, and then you see them struggle. But eventually, the great play happens more often than the struggling play, and then eventually the struggling play, becomes rare, right? It's not very often you have guys like Lane Hudson who, play really well right away and don't really have that much struggle. I mean, I guess Lane Hudson did have some struggles, not to the same degree that, I think but again, when a player becomes great or a team becomes great, it's when they're able to perform on a consistent basis. They're able to do it night after night after night. So those bad games become the rarity as opposed to the other way around. You can often find them with first picks. What did I miss? I'm sorry, Morgan. I might have forgotten what I was talking about in relation to that. Are you talking about special breeds? Or you find special breeds with first picks? Yeah. Again, it's never a guarantee, and I think there's some people that questioned whether he was going to live up to his potential or live up to the hype of a first round pick. I think that concern was probably not really warranted. He is young and there's still lots of time. I think it's just a matter of time before Slavkovsky becomes that guy. Bonjour Yannick. Bonjour. Bienvenue. Vous pouvez souscrire à la réseau en bas. Il y a un bouton en bas pour souscrire. Alors merci et bienvenue. Who was the 2021 draft equivalent of Slav? Good question. Let's answer that question. 2021 draft hockey DB. You mean like as far as like players you can't find that often? You're talking about big guys. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's anybody in the 2021 draft. Yeah, I mean, what we're seeing from Uri Slavkovsky, if his brain and his skills combined with his size and his physicality, if he can put all of that together on a consistent basis, then I think you're right. He's a special kind of guy. He's a special breed of player. It's not something that comes along very often, right? It's like it's Brady Tkachuk, but way better. Again, I'm not putting him in that category yet because he hasn't achieved it yet. But again, he's as big. I don't know that he's as physical and strong, and he's not going to win fights the way that Brady Tkachuk does. But he's big and strong and physical, and he has a ton of skill and talent. Like he's got the skill and talent in the hands of Suzuki and Caulfield with the body of a big boy. And if he can put all of that together, then I think I think you're right. It's going to be something pretty special. J'aimerais le FRSZ. Je comprends pas. Already third year for Slav, getting better, more involved. He's learning how to be efficient. Yeah, he's just learning to be confident, and he's learning to be a better player. Will Habs make playoffs? If they do, what round do you think they'll make it to? They might make it. I have them probably right now at 60-40 to make the playoffs. If they make the playoffs, I mean, anything can really happen. I mean, I don't have any, to me, them making the playoffs is just gravy, right? It's all a bonus, right? Nobody expected them to make the playoffs. If they do, it's great. Obviously, at this point, because they're so close, there might be some disappointment in them not making it. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to be disappointed. Anderson didn't play much after his apparent hand injury. Could be an issue. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Anderson takes an awful lot to keep that guy out of the lineup, so we'll see. Merci beaucoup, Yannick. In the previous 2020 draft, I don't see any player that has the Slav equivalent skill set, size, power forward. Yeah, I agree. Looks like Fowler is signing a contract with Laval. He's done everything he can in college. I agree, Morgan. He has done everything he can in college. I mean, again, I don't think it would have been the end of the world for him to go back. I don't think I would have cried about it, but I think you're right. The best thing for his development is for him to go to Laval. It'll be interesting to see what kind of role he plays there, how many games he gets into between now and the end of the season and then the playoffs. But he's stepping into a really good situation. The team is good. It's a good bunch of guys, and I think it'll be a good experience for him, right? Like he'll learn what it's like to play meaningful games at the professional level right off the bat. Right, he's stepping into a good situation on a team that looks like it has some potential to do some damage in the playoffs. Love the pick on my stream tonight. You like that, Randy? I mixed it up a little bit. Mixed it up a little bit. We can maybe we can do this. Actually, I don't want to do that just yet. Let's just go quickly through the advanced stuff here, guys. The shots were 31-19. The Corsi 65-56. Fenwick 50-34. High danger scoring chances 14-8, and the expected goals were 4.18 to 2.32. Again, I think all positive. Expected goals, very much in favor of the Canadiens. The high danger chances very much in favor of the Canadiens. So I think it was those numbers are indicative of the game that we watched. So I want to see if I can do this for you guys. Maybe we can, maybe we can't. Yeah, here we go. So I don't know if you guys were able to see this, but this was the the poster for the pregame. Big rivalry game for the Habs. Slav was originally drafted for outskilling the Olympics as a kid, 100%. MVP, not the Olympics, it was the World Championships, I think. PLW. I think. You were right, by the way, about the 5-on-5 numbers the other day. I forgot to mention it. I did look it up. I apologize for doubting you. Money Puck has Montreal's odds at 52% now. Yeah. I mean, it's I think it's probably a little bit higher than that. They've got a bit of a lead now. They control their own destiny, as you mentioned earlier, Morgan. I think the schedule favors them to a degree. They still have to go out and get the job done. They're still young and inexperienced, so anything can happen. But they've got a 2-point lead on the Rangers with same number of games played. They've got a 4-point lead on Columbus. Columbus has a game in hand, and they have a 6-point lead on Detroit, and Detroit has a game in hand. So I think they're in a pretty good spot. Laval has almost clinched first seed. They could throw Fowler in this week. Yeah, I don't know what the intentions are. I don't know whether the intentions are to throw him into the fire and give him. I mean, I don't think that Primo really has a place in the future of the Canadiens. So again, I think there is value in Laval doing well, and Primo is obviously hot. So, Emile Turcotte, bienvenue. Loved the physical game that we played tonight. I thought the Canadiens, I thought the physical game was there tonight. It was nice. It was nice. Heineman, Slavkovsky, Gouli, right? Slav was the Olympic MVP when the pros were on. Is that what I thought? It was the World Championship. I could be wrong. I probably am wrong. Primo has been lights out for love. Absolutely, Morgan. He has been. You're 100% correct. Little Potato. What happens to Connor Hughes? I don't know. It's a good question. Somebody had mentioned the other day that, I can't remember who it was, but it was in one of the shows, mentioned that Connor Hughes has had some interest from teams in Europe for him to return to Europe. So I don't know whether that's an option for him. I don't know if that's an option for him and it's something he's exploring. I expect he can probably make more money over there. I don't know what his intentions were to come back over here to North America. I don't know whether he thought that he had a chance to make it to the NHL from there. If he did, I don't think he seized that opportunity. I mean, he's played well, but I don't think he's lighting up the world to the point where he's going to get a shot to play at the NHL level for the Canadiens or anyone else. So, maybe his best move is to go back to Europe. So I don't know. I don't know what the plan is. He carried Laval for a little bit. Not really. I don't see when he would have carried Laval. I mean, Dobesh was the number one and was the better goalie for most of the first half of the season, and then when Primo got sent down, Primo kind of pretty much took over. I wouldn't say that he carried Laval. Again, I'll stand to be corrected, but I didn't really. That's not my take on it anyway. Does Doc fit in the lineup next year? He had a very slow start before his injury. I think he does. He's going to get a chance anyway, Randy. If he can get back to full health, I think he'll get a chance to show up to training camp, and he'll get a chance to make the team, and he'll get a chance to play whatever role they feel like he's best suited for. I think you're right. He did struggle this year. Certainly, I thought he played well at times, but for the most part, he didn't have the best. But he has shown in the past that he's very capable. He's shown in the past that he's a very capable player. I think they view him in a lot of ways, potential wise, in the same kind of vein as a Uri Slafkovsky, right? I don't think they, I don't think the likelihood of him achieving that potential is the same level as it is with Uri Slafkovsky, but I think they see them as the potential similar guy. Who's our next 80-point scorer? Hard to believe Suzuki is our first since Covey. So you mean other than Suzuki? I mean, I think that Caulfield is certainly capable of putting up 80 points. I think that Slafkovsky eventually will be capable of putting up 80 points. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, obviously, I think Demidov has the potential to be there, but it's a long way off. I'm not going to put that type of expectation out there. I think he's got the ability to do that. Yeah, we'll see. Galley's 19 goals this year, the second most in the league among players averaging less than 40 times. Okay, yeah. Galley's been a revelation this year. So is Josh Anderson. I mean, this team. We can talk about this team. Not being where they are without Lane Hudson and Nick Suzuki, but this team is not where they are if it's not for Brendan Gallagher and Josh Anderson and the way Jake Evans has played. Right, those guys. It's been a team effort for sure. Right, it's not about one guy. Obviously, there's different guys. Who've done bigger numbers or put up bigger numbers and done it on a more spectacular level, but again, this team is not where it is without the contributions of, even Armia, right? I mean, they're not. If the Habs miss this year and next, is it time to make a big trade or change? Miss what? The answer is no. I think you mean if they miss the playoffs. No. I mean, this year they've, whether they make the playoffs or not this year, they've still improved, right? The rebuild has still moved forward. I mean, the fact that they're at a stage now where they're ahead of where they, probably would have expected to be, if they don't make the playoffs, it doesn't make this season a failure. So, no, absolutely not. No. I mean, that's the whole idea behind a rebuild is that you're patient, right, Tristan? The idea that you're going to, respond to, a downturn or a certain level of a lack of success, by, going out and making a big move or whatever. It's not conducive to a proper rebuild. Laval is has very good AHL veterans along. Yeah. It's going to be a great place for a young player to go play PLW. It's got a lot of high level prospects. It's, obviously one of the better teams in the league. Yeah. Morgan, Doc's plus minus was terrible. Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't ideal. I don't think anyone's going to argue that he had a good season before getting injured. I don't know that I don't think that his plus minus takes away from what he's capable of and what his potential is. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not ideal. Love the number 25 on that pick. Who's the greatest number 25 in Montreal Canadiens history? Who's your favorite player in Montreal Canadiens history to wear the number 25? Hudson can score 80. Yeah. I don't know if he can score 80, but he can get 80 points. Alex Ovechkin is only 1,240 assists away from Wayne Gretzky. Could a few good games get him there? Yeah. Nice one. I like it. Evans has 1 goal since mid-January. Yeah, he hasn't. He obviously still contributing in crazy ways, right? Like, I mean, Jake Evans. If you're counting on Jake Evans for offense, or if you're, Jake Evans, number one contribution to your team isn't going to be offense, right? The fact that he was putting up some offensive numbers what was making him, an elite fourth liner for a certain portion of the year. But at the end of the day, the fact that he is one of the better penalty killers in the NHL and he's a guy you can throw on the ice in any scenario and not worry about it, as a fourth liner, that's more so what you're looking for. Lane Hudson is why Habs are ahead of schedule, number 62. LOL. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's probably a big part of it. I wouldn't say he's the only reason why. He's a big part of it, but there's a lot of reasons why, and it has to do with it has to do with the team. And to me, it has to do with the environment that they've created and how they've come together as a group. Jacques Lemaire is your favorite number 25? Yeah. He would be. I mean, he was kind of before my time a little bit. I have one that I like better than Vinny Domfus. I have one that I like better, and you guys haven't even thought of him yet. With UNB's season wrapping up, could we see Sam Richard go pro, maybe with the AHL or a game with the Habs? Didn't he do that last year? I don't see him being an AHL goalie. I mean, maybe East Coast League. I thought he played a game last year, the goalie for. Maybe it was at the training camp this year. Maybe it was at. Was it at the rookie development camp, or was it was somewhere? He's played a game in the Canadiens. No, my favorite number 25 in Montreal Canadiens history is the underrated defenseman, Peter Svoboda. Yes, Morgan. I love it. Peter Svoboda. Peter Svoboda was very underrated. I thought he was a great defenseman. Played kind of in the shadow of Chris Chelios for a long time. Was Momesso number 25? I don't think Momesso was number 25. I think Momesso was number 30... 36? 36, I think. Maybe. How about we do the A-team, guys? If you haven't given us a thumbs up yet, guys, feel free to pound that thumbs up button. If you're not subscribed, please do so. We're getting some good contribution here from Morgan. Morgan is kind of not new, but also hasn't really been a regular on here either. We used to call him Pencil Neck. Yeah, he was a little bit. He had a big, long, kind of giraffe neck kind of thing going on, kind of like a Thomas Plekanec kind of situation. I liked. I was a big. That was kind of my real prime Montreal Canadian fandom years. The years when they had Brian Scrudlin and Mike McPhee. And Claude Lemieux, where they would start every game, right? They were the first line. Bob Gainey was around. He was perhaps the earlier generation. Momesso was 25 and 36. Okay, I only remember him as 36. I would expect that he probably played most of his games at number 36. Sergio Momesso. Yeah, that was kind of my prime. They had it was Chelios and Svoboda, Rick Green, Craig Ludwig. Awesome. Those were the prime days of my being a Montreal Canadiens fan as a kid. All right, guys, let's do the A-team. Let's do the A-team. Oh, there's another thumbs up. Thank you, guys. Asim, what's up? Welcome. Asim showing up late. I love it. Welcome to the show. There's your A-team, guys. Boom subs back in the day. Boom subs. You know what? Momesso subs? Bomb subs. I had them once or twice when I was younger, but I hadn't had them in a really long time. I think they've closed down now, Momessos. Anyway, there's your A-team, guys. We got Caden Gooley, Brendan Gallagher, Uri Slavkovsky, and Nick Suzuki. Yeah, we're not as old as you, Entertap. We're not as old as you. I'm just kidding. Is Caulfield keeping number 22? I suspect he'll probably stick with 13, Tristan. I don't know, but I suspect he will. So Caden Gooley was the guy that none of you really mentioned that I have here. I thought Gooley had a pretty good game tonight. Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? Did I miss remember or misobserve Caden Gooley tonight. I thought he was good. He was physical, had the fight, stood up for himself. Was enough of a pest that he kind of forced them to go after him, right, with all of his physical contact. A number of big hits tonight, blocked some shots. I thought he was pretty good. Ludwig and Green were very generous with their elbows in the face, especially Craig Ludwig. Also had the giant shin pads for blocking pads. He had his shin pads were almost as big as the goalies. Gooley shaking off the rust. What a beast. Yeah, again, a very underrated guy, very underrated part of the future of this team. Slav is using more and more of his body, 100%. Gooley and Hudson pair has been great. Yeah, I mean, realistically, anybody they pair with Hudson plays pretty well. Brendan Gallagher, again, I thought he was a bit of a catalyst tonight. He obviously assisted on the Dvorak goal. I think he also got in on the empty net goal, did he not? Am I remembering that correctly? Let us check to be sure. I don't like to say things unless I know they're true. We have Gallagher with the goal and goal and an assist, right? So he had the goal, and then he had the assist on the Dvorak. So yeah, Gallagher I thought played beyond just scoring. I don't just put guys on here because they get points. I thought he had a more than solid game tonight, and was impressed with what he did. Slavkovsky and Suzuki. I mean that first line was pretty solid all along. Not just with the points and the goal that they scored, but also they shut the other team down, right? That's the great thing about that first line is that not only do they contribute offensively, but they more than hold their own defensively. And if you look at their advanced stats on most games, you're looking at a scenario where they have a ton of chances for and very few chances against. So like tonight, those guys, and when I say those guys, I mean Slavkovsky, Suzuki, and Caulfield. What's going on here? Multiple scoring chances for and very few scoring chances against. 12 scoring chances for, 3 against for Suzuki, 11 for and 3 against for Slavkovsky, and 10 for and 3 against for Caulfield. 5-2 high danger chances for Suzuki and Slavkovsky, and 4-2 in favor of Caulfield. So these are not only guys who are out there producing offensively, but they're also guys who are out there holding the other team, usually the other team's best line, in check. Is Hudson being RFA this summer or next? Next summer, Asim. Next summer. They can extend him this year, but he's not RFA till next year. Gooley should never have been involved in that fight. That's what happens when Arbor is not in the lineup. Teams take liberties. Gooley could have easily been injured. Yeah. Gooley can handle himself, and I'm okay with that. But you're right. Teams definitely take liberties. I mean, we've seen that a few times now since Jack-I was taken out of the lineup. I think Arbor Jack-I should be in the lineup. I thought Galley was a buyout candidate at one point, but he's had a great season. Yeah, 100%. You'd probably say the same thing about Josh Anderson last year. Habs fans give Arbor and Evans and Anderson way too much rope. Disagree, Morgan. I disagree. I couldn't disagree with you more. Arbor Jack-I is a unicorn. Arbor Jack-I has the ability and the potential to be a very special player in the league. He's never going to be, a Lane Hudson or a guy like that. But as far as what he can contribute to a hockey team, he's has the potential to be a very important part of the Montreal Canadiens. One of the gripes I have is that the Habs defense tends to let the opposition with the puck come all the way into the top of the circle uncontested. Okay, I don't really know. I think you mentioned that the other day, Randy. I don't see that. Their zone coverage does differentiate between the top of the zone and the bottom of the zone. And they play more of a man-to-man situation in the top of the zone, but I'm not sure. Montreal is the most double-digit goal scorers of all team. They do. I think there's 6 or 7. Habs wouldn't buy out Gallagher. He brings too much to the team, leadership and grit-wise. Yeah, I mean, now they wouldn't. But again, there was a time where, last year and the year before where he was, struggling mightily. So, that's why I say he's been a bit of a revelation this year and that he was able to turn that around, right? He's not that player anymore. He's improved greatly. Why has Arbor been a healthy scratch in a playoff hunt then? Because they have too many left-handed defensemen and they have to make a decision on who is going to play. They don't have enough right-handed defensemen, which makes Savard more difficult to take out of the lineup. And because Jaden Struble is playing really, really well right now, in part because of having had the opportunity to play with Lane Hudson. So it's a numbers game right now. It's a numbers game, and that's why he's being scratched, because Caden Gooley came back from injury. Always loved Emelin. Was hoping for Jack-Eye to bring that physicality to the team. He may yet, Randy. He may yet. Jack-Eye is a 5th, 6th, 7th defenseman, doesn't deserve all the attention he gets, and I think that's what's bothering. I don't think anything's bothering Marty St. Louis. I don't think he's benching or scratching Arbor Jack-Eye because he's bothered by him. I think he's scratching him because at this stage, I think the lineup he's putting out there is the lineup that he believes gives the team the best chance to win. And, there's a number of dynamics at play there. You're right, though. I mean, Jack-Eye is going to be a third-pairing defenseman, but if Arbor Jack-Eye can be and continue to grow and develop at the rate that he has, over the last 2 or 3 years, he can contribute very, very significantly to any team in the NHL. Right? He gives you that enforcer role, and also he plays good hockey. He's a good skater. When he's on his game, he moves the puck well. He has a fantastic shot. Arbor played 3 minutes in his last game. Yeah, because they had 7 defensemen, Morgan. Again, if you don't like Arbor Jack-Eye, that's fine. But I think it's pretty clear that the Canadiens think highly of him, and they have high hopes for him, and they believe that he's capable of being a part of this team. Right? He's a kid who was undrafted. He's a kid that wasn't even drafted into junior, and in 5 years, he's gone from being a kid who was playing, looking at playing junior C hockey, to playing in the NHL. His rise and his development and his improvement has been meteoric, and I think they see that he has, the capacity to learn and grow and develop at a very, very high rate. And if he can continue to do that, I think they see him as a potential, contributor to the team. Struble just being way more reliable than Jack-Eye. Yeah, I mean, to a degree. I mean, I think that Struble benefited greatly from playing with Lane Hudson for, we've certainly seen, and you can go and look at the stats. Anybody that plays with Lane Hudson gets a bit of a boost. And I would venture to say that if Jack-Eye had been playing, the last month and a half next to Lane Hudson instead of the other way around, then we'd probably be talking in reverse terms right now between, Jack-Eye and Struble. If Jack-Eye had played the last month and a half with Hudson and Struble had played with David Savard, I think, those roles would probably be reversed. Also, we have no clue what Jack-Eye could do in the playoffs. He could get dirty and take penalties. Struble and Savard won't. Well, again, I think that's part of his learning curve, Tristan. He's learned to control that a little bit, right? He's gotten better at that. He's gotten better at controlling and learning when it's time to be the enforcer and when it's time to not be the enforcer. Obviously, it's a work in progress, but next season we add Reinbacher and Mailloux, lose Savard. I don't see a lot of mins available for Wi-Fi. Yeah, we'll see. But again, I mean, Arbor Jack-Eye's been a better defenseman than Logan Mailloux. Logan Mailloux obviously has more potential, and if he lives up to his potential, he'll do that. But I don't think that there's any guarantee that Logan Mailloux makes the team next year. I think that there's a good chance that he does. We'll see. We'll see, right? I think that those guys will all compete for a spot. There's going to be probably 9 or 10 guys who will compete for those 6 spots, and the other guys will either get traded, whether it's Jack-I or whether it's Mailloux or whether it's Engstrom or whether it's whoever, or they'll end up being guys who come up and down from Laval, guys who play in Laval and get called up when there's an injury or what have you. Yeah, I mean, if you're, there's a huge difference between going out on the ice and playing with David Savard versus going out on the ice and playing a regular shift with Lane Hudson. I mean, I don't think that's rocket surgery. I don't see a Lane on the left side for a Jack-I. I think Jack-I is the odd man out and trade it. Yeah, maybe, but maybe he's not, right? Maybe they trade Mailloux. I don't know. I mean, it's quite evident if you're paying attention that the Canadiens think highly of Arber Xhekaj, right? We've already heard that there's teams who've asked for him, and the Canadiens have, either said no or asked for, a significant return for him, more than what other teams are willing to pay. They kept him on the team as an 18-year-old, an undrafted 18 or 19-year-old, whatever he was. There's obviously a feeling there that they like him, and again, you guys are talking about him struggling. If we rolled the clock back a month and a half, your take on this would be completely different. You'd be talking about Jayden Struble the way you're now talking about Arber Xhekaj, and you'd be talking about Arber Xhekaj the way you're now talking about Jayden Struble. That's a fact. Like a month and a half ago, Arber Xhekaj was way ahead of Jayden Struble on the depth chart. And I get that, I get that we're not, this isn't February, right? This isn't the end of January. I get that we're not there anymore, and that, all that really matters is today. But again, and again, I'm not saying that he's not going to be a guy who gets traded. And, if he does, he's an asset that will have a lot of value. But again, I also think that he has the opportunity to do some really cool things on the Montreal Canadiens. And I think they view him as a guy who brings a skill set that isn't easy to come by, right? He has the ability to be, the toughest guy in the league fighting-wise, and also be, a significant contributor on the ice. Like that enforcer, combining that enforcer role with skill and talent as a guy who, you can put on the ice and not worry about him is something that not a lot of teams have. I prefer Gooley, Struble, Matheson, and even Engstrom. Again, you wouldn't have said that. You wouldn't have said that a month ago, PLW. I mean, you're going to say that you would, but you wouldn't have. You wouldn't have said that a month ago. There's not a chance in the world you would have said that a month or a month and a half ago. No chance. And again, I'm going to suggest that one of the reasons why you're in love with Struble right now is because of how good he looked playing next to Lane Hudson. And that's not a problem. That's a good thing. And obviously he's playing with a lot of confidence, and it's a lot of that's a big part for a young hockey player is playing with confidence. And he looks great. He looks really good. But again, the idea that you've got those guys ahead of Xhekaj right now, I think is not something you would have said back then. It's not 1985. Enforcers are no longer required. Not true. Enforcers for the sake of being an enforcer is no longer required. Morgan, I agree with you completely on that. But that's the whole concept of why Jack Eye is valuable, is because he's not, he's not a one-dimensional enforcer. He's not Ryan Reeves, right? He's not, one of those guys. He's a guy who can keep the other team honest, but also, contribute. Yeah, you're not being honest, PLW. You're not. That's not. Whether you were a Jack Eye fan or not, you were not picking Struble over Jack Eye a month and a half ago. You weren't. There's like he was barely able to get in the lineup a month and a half ago, and when he was, he was he was terrible. Like he sat out for like a month. Like he'd gone like 7 or 8 or 9 games without playing, and then when he came back in the lineup, understandably he struggled mightily. He was not very good. So again, I mean, I mean, it's quite evident you're not a Jack Eye fan, but that's I don't think whether you're a Jack Eye fan or not, I don't think you were singing the praises of Jaden Struble when he was I don't think you were singing the praises of Jaden Struble around the time of the early stages of the Carrier trade, when Carrier came in and Jaden Struble was out of the lineup, and then sorry PLW, I'm not buying it. I mean, if you were, I don't know what you were watching, because there was nothing. I've always liked Jaden Struble, and I've always wanted him to have a chance. I mean, last year I thought he showed signs that he should get an opportunity to play, and so in that sense I was a fan. But to suggest that watching him play, if you watched him in January and you thought he's better than Arbor Jackeye, then I think you didn't know what you're talking about. He didn't have more poise. I mean, if you think that Jaden Struble had more poise than Arbor Jackeye in January, then you don't know what poise is, because he didn't. He didn't have more poise. Not even close. I see the trade now. It has to be 11. If it's not, we get Florida first. Yeah, that's correct, I think, Asim. Yeah, I mean, if you thought that Jaden Struble had more poise than Arbor Jackeye in January, I don't know. I'm sorry. Okay, well, he has it now, PLW. Again, I don't think I think we're beating this to death, but he doesn't have more he doesn't have more poise than Jackeye. He has more poise when he's playing alongside Lane Hudson. That's 100% for sure. But if you were watching the Montreal Canadiens in January, I'll say this one more time. If you're watching the Montreal Canadiens in January and you thought that Jaden Struble had more poise than Lane Hudson, of course he didn't. If you thought he had more poise than Arbor Jackeye, then I can't. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it'd be like you telling me you thought Justin Barron had more poise, because that was basically what we were, talking about. Anyways, guys, so that's it for the A team. Gooley, Gallagher, Slavkovsky, and Suzuki. I think we're going to be, what are we going on here now? Yeah, we're almost we're over an hour and a half now, guys. So I think that might be time to shut her down. We're almost 1 o'clock in the morning here in Nova Scotia. If I can figure out what I'm doing. I don't have a lot of poise. Obviously, trying to figure out what I'm doing here. Yeah, that's it for tonight, guys, I think, unless you guys have any other major things you want to talk about. Thanks very much, everybody, for coming. I see there's 11 people watching. If you haven't hit the thumbs up yet and you're enjoying the show, please do that. If you're not yet subscribed, please do so. If you're watching on a replay, if you're watching after the fact, I get that not everybody can watch the show live at this hour of the night. But again, if you haven't yet subscribed and you're watching after the fact in a replay, feel free to send us your comments I'll happily address them. Either I'll respond in the comments, or we can talk about it on the next show, depending on the question and what have you. But yeah, that would be awesome, guys. Like I said, we're trying to grow our community. We're trying to get bigger. On essaie de vous donner une émission bilingue. Alors, si vous avez des questions en français, si vous voulez participer dans une émission en français, c'est une place pour vous. We're trying to grow the family, guys. We're trying to grow a bilingual place where you can talk about the Canadiens civilly, intelligently, objectively. We're not a bunch of rah-rah. I mean, some of us are, but I'm not trying to give you a place where you can just come and say the Habs are awesome and everybody else sucks, right? I want to, we want to have some legitimate intellectual talk conversation about the Montreal Canadiens and about hockey in general. And I think we're doing a pretty good job at accomplishing that. We do more than just sort of, Habs rule, Leafs suck kind of stuff. So anyways, it's been a great time. I appreciate everybody. Morgan, thank you very much. It was great having you and great having your contribution. I know you and I have talked on TikTok before, but it was great having you here on the show. Am I going to be doing shows every day? No, not for now anyway. Right now I'm doing Habs After Dark, which is I do that after the Canadiens games. I try to get on after every Canadiens game. Every once in a while I do miss one, and I probably will miss Saturday's game. Like I said, I'm going to be out at the Halifax Thunderbirds game, which is the lacrosse team here. So I probably won't get to watch the game as closely as I'd like, and I probably won't be around to do a post-game show. But otherwise, I do try to get on the air as much as I can after the games. And then on Wednesday evenings, we do a show called Habs Therapy Day, which is a weekly review kind of show. So cheers to you, Entertap, Randy, Morgan, Sean, PLW, Asim. I'll go through everybody here. I know that we had Larry was here earlier. Tristan Filion. Who else? Let's keep going here. We're going way back. We had a lot of comments tonight, guys. I did appreciate that. Little Potato was here. Maybe still here, for all I know. I know a lot of people hide out in the background sometimes. That's great, too. Emile Turcotte with a comment earlier on. Thank you. Yannick popped over from TikTok. Enjoying the show. Larry, of course, was here. Nicholas Lund. Antoine. Yeah, so there's a bunch of guys. Jackson Harrison came over. Jackson's going to be at the lacrosse game on Saturday as well. Maybe he'll sneak over and bring me a beer. Billy D was here as well. So yeah, that was great, guys. I do appreciate it. I appreciate your participation. I appreciate your contributions. It always makes it better when we can have a conversation instead of just me running my mouth the whole time. I am looking at possibly opening things up to guests and co-hosts down the road. Maybe Entertap. I don't know if you're interested in that. What's up there, Craig? How are you? I am late. We're just ending the show here. We go live after all the Canadiens games, and we've been on for about an hour and a half here. Hexy. But yeah, we're almost done. We're just finishing up. So yeah, maybe I'll start adding, bringing in some guests and doing some co-host stuff. So it's all good, Hexy. We're finishing off. We'll probably see you on Saturday night. Hopefully you'll be more disappointed after that game than you were after the last time we played you guys. So yeah, Canadiens win 4-1 over the Bruins, guys. Pretty solid performance by the team. 7 games left in the season. They are currently still in a wild card spot with a little bit more of a buffer tonight. Like Randy pointed out, Columbus lost tonight and the Canadiens win. That gives them some buffer. Yeah, it's going to be in their own hands now. They have the opportunity to make their own fate, and we'll see how they do. Thanks so much, Randy. I appreciate your joining the family. It's been we're growing slowly but surely, and I'm happy to have you. Great contributions tonight, great questions, and I appreciated chatting with you. Good night, good hockey. Yes, have a great one, guys. I appreciate all of you. Enjoy the rest of your evening if it's not too late. Otherwise, have a great day tomorrow, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.
To Hoffman, Monahan parked in front, Docs to Caulfield, fires, scores!
You are about to enter Habs After Dark with Recliner Sports.